Good morning, guys. So, today we're going to be talking about natural selection. So, we're going to start our notes. Okay, and it leads to evolution. So we're going to start off with just a reminder. Let me move this up right there. So remember, a generation is or are individuals living at the same time. Okay, are individuals or organisms living during the same time. So, number one, first we have to remember what a species is. And those are groups of organisms capable of breeding, and making offspring. And that is, for example, birds, dogs, cats, etc. So what is going to determine whether a species survives? Well, the answer to that is going to be nature. Nature determines whether a species survives. So we're talking about the species that is on number one. All right, I'm going to move it up. So a species is a group of organisms that are able to produce offspring, and we want to know what determines whether that species is going to survive. Well, the answer is for that nature. So nature selects which traits and genes will survive. This is number 3. Okay, nature selects which traits and genes will survive. So that takes us to what is natural selection. So number 4. Natural selection we could say kills off organisms that cannot adapt to survive in the changing environment. Okay, natural selection. And eventually, because it is killing off, those organisms that cannot adapt, right? It's also killing off those traits and genes, which leads the organism to evolve. So natural selection leads to evolution. Natural selection leads to evolution. Well, natural selection has happened quite a bit of times, right, in this world. I mean, a lot. But there is one famous case study, and that's what we're going to be looking at right now. I'm going to start off right here. It's going to be the case study of the peppered moth. Okay, we're going to talk about the case of the peppered moths. So, I found kind of like you would say a comic strip of this case. So, let me share it with you. Wrong way. And here it is. Okay, so before the industrialization, okay, the trees were bright and clear, meaning that the white moths or the peppered moths could blend in with the trees. So these trees would not be brown, they'd be kind of like an off-white with little dark spots, which would help the pepper moths blend in. So before, the birds would only be able to eat what was standing out, which before the Industrial Revolution started, they wouldn't blend into the trees. So in 1820, the Industrial Revolution started to use machines and factories, and they produced a black soot, which stained the trees a really dark color. So by staining just, the trees in general, we're talking about the trunk and everything. Now the white moths were able to be detected easier, and the dark moths, right, would not. They would blend in. Well, the dark moths would be reproducing faster, or reproducing the most, because the birds were eating the white moths. Again, they were standing out. So after the Industrial Revolution, when the air became clean, and they implemented the Clean Air Act in 1956, the white moths overtook the black moths and returned to how it used to be, right? So all of this is natural selection. The organisms are going to adapt or die in order to survive, and we want those genes to be passed on. So, what we're going to do at the bottom is we are going to basically summarize in a way the case of the peppered moths. So, pre-industrialization. And then post industrialization. Okay, so before the before industrialization, the light peppered moth survives because of camouflage. Okay, it survives because of camouflage. So I'm going to draw a tree. And I'm going to draw a couple of moths right here. Okay, so they would camouflage with the tree and be able to survive. But then factories started getting built, and started producing that black soot. Okay. And then it leads us to the post-industrialization, which was that the dark peppered moth survives because of camouflage. Okay, so we have now we're going to have those trees but now we're going to have these black peppered moths that are going to be the ones that are going to survive the most because they're going to blend in with the new color of the tree. Okay, and then I'm going to leave one white moth in order to represent that there was still some light colored peppered moths even after post-industrialization, but I'm sorry, they were getting eaten by birds faster. Okay, so let me start applying my colors. Okay, so again, before industrialization, right, we had our white moths, but we also had a couple of them that were dark, right, and those were the ones that were getting eaten. So industrialization happens, they start building these factories that produce this soot, right, this pollution that affects the coloration of the trees. Okay, and these trees end up looking darker. Okay, the bark becomes a darker color. Okay, and parts of the tree also, like the leaves, will look darker. So I'm just going to color it all like this. Well, in a tree that looks like that, the dark moths will be able to blend in better than the white moth. So guess who gets eaten now? The white moth. And that is natural selection. Organisms needing to adapt naturally because nature is changing, right? If nature changes, the organism must change with it or it's gonna die, basically. Well, that's it, guys, for today. Have a wonderful weekend. Do not forget to work on the poster assigned, and I will put more of the description on today's post. Have a wonderful afternoon.